directions subconsciously. I was not aware of how many of those teaching and coaching towards me on the floor are going to be the part of my coaching right now. So nevertheless, I had my own path, and I was a character as any of the players would like to be. I firmly remember, and I put in my notebook a lot of advices of the great coaches that I had as an example in front of me. First, maybe the biggest advice that I received came from my father, who was a coach, and that was completely accidentally. After one game that I played in my early age, I was a point guard, 19, 18 years old of Partizan. I played a good game, 3 out of 5 threes, 21 points, 5, 6 assists, not a lot of turnovers, which is one of the issues that we might talk a lot. I thought I had a great game. I came back to my home and I saw my father watching TV. So I was all hyped up. I said, okay, let me, oh, have you seen it? Have you seen it? Asking for a great, oh, great. Oh, my son. Oh, I'm proud. I'm this, I'm that. No, he was just watching TV. Yeah. I was like trying to get into a conversation, and he goes after third or fifth intent of myself. He said, you really want to talk about your game? I said, yes. He took off the remote control, turned off the TV, and start. And I said, have you seen 21 points? He said, listen, kid, your concentration sucks. This is the first time I heard the word concentration. Your defensive position is terrible. Your weak side positioning and attention when you're not on the ball is not very good. You're taking your man and playing pick and roll shoulder to shoulder to the big man is terrible. You have a space between, and you let your defender come by you. So with all those things, and I remember that conversation really well, I was like this, hoping to accept great, you're good, you're the best, I don't know, whatever your father would say. He put indirectly into myself one thing that I believe every playmaker should have until the end of his playing career, which is never be satisfied and always in a research of a perfection. So a lot of times, a lot of coaches would say, practice makes it happen to come to your best game. I said it's wrong, because for the point guards and also for all the players, but let's talk about this position, only perfect practice makes it happen. So one of the first things that I received as a teaching point, or my path as a point guard, was always in every game searching for a better thing, searching for something that I could have done better. And I believe that in a position of a point guard, it's a really huge thematic, because in a game of basketball, once you see the role of a point guard and all the things that he is doing on the floor, there's always something more that he could add to that game. Nevertheless, it's a game of 30 points, 10 assists, 5 steals, no turnovers. It can always be something more. It can always be something more. So that's something that I always try to teach right now and talk to the point guards, especially, in order to make them understand what we are asking from them, or what their game can come up to. So this continuous research of a perfection on this side, when you're a coach, you might enter into a lot of mistakes, because it's not always easy. It's not always acceptable from the other part to understand your mind, or to be able to go for something which is always more and more and more. But this is something that must be in playmaking's DNA, that search for a perfection path, process of coming to the certain attitude of being prepared, having also the one part of geniality. Because when we coaching are putting our teams, first we ask everybody, who's our point guard, right? So it's definitely, in my opinion, the most important role on the floor. On the other side, that point guard or a playmaker can be a player in a different position. We had examples like Vlade Divac or Krešimir Ćosić that were great point guards, playmakers in a position 5 also. So those are all the things how you want to put your offensive thing on the floor. But that's something that is completely out of this conversation. So we're talking about, let's say, classical playmaking, a classical point guard position. So the second big thing that I received from my teachers that I always now try to address to all the playmakers is two things that I received. One is from my coach that I had in Barcelona, Ito, that he explained to me menos es más, less is more philosophy. In my late age of career, 29, 30 years, when I came back from NBA. And the other thing that I was lucky to have a great point guard, one of the greatest of our ex-nation, Yugoslavia, Moka Slavnic, as a coach when I was 16. And he was coaching me. He gave me some of the tasks on the floor to do, but I remember one thing, actually two, but I will say first from the practices. Each thing that I did as a playmaker, it was a shot, it was a pass, it was a kick, it was an assist, it was a defensive stop, whatever. He would always make a comment on this action. He would always say, okay, score, but better solution. Yes, you make an assist, but you have find a better solution, a better pass. And it's always that better solution, better pass. Yeah, you make a shot, you make a 3-point shot. You said it's a good shot, but you have to find a better one. It can be a better one. So in his coaching, and I was 16 years old, 16, 17, and his thing at the beginning, I was, what is he talking about? I scored. And I talked to him. I said, Coach, I just scored a 3. Why would you say a better shot? Because you should have gained more gap, get a better position, turn your feet towards the basket a little bit better. It has to be a better shot. So in all these teachings that I received as a young kid, this auto research of getting better was in my DNA always more and more. And this is how I try to transmit that to the point guard. So we can talk generally about a lot of things that one point guard must have on and off the court, but it's definitely one of the first, if not the first player that one coach will address his first talk to individually and say, okay, let's talk about what is in front of us, what we can expect, how we can work, and with all the respect to everybody, there are a lot of great players, a lot of huge players, a lot of unbelievable, skilled, talented players. But in order to have a great relationship coach toward playmaker, you have to have a relationship with him for the game, what you want from him from the game, but also out of the game. So in this coaching that I'm doing, that I'm asking from the players, and I think that oh, hold on. Sorry, guys. Can you hear me?
No problem, coach. Yeah. We can hear you.
I just lost the... No.
I mean, we can hear you, so...
Yeah, I cannot see anyone, so it's kind of... Okay. So where was I? Yeah. So I firmly believe that coaching a playmaker or asking for him to do a lot of stuff starts from making him participate of your game. So a lot of times we coaches right now, or having the coaches that were direct and I want this and this and that, will limit some part of the player's talent, of their possibility, what to achieve on the floor. So a lot of time it's needed in order to get a system right, in order to get your ideas and everything else, but it always needs a explanation. So what, why, and how are the most important things what you should address to the player, especially to the point guard. What to do, why to do, but at the end the most important, most difficult thing is how to do it. So you in right now in this profession, in coaching to a playmaker, you have to always explain what to do, which is more or less we all know what we ask, what we are trying to achieve, what is our game needing, and why we also can explain, because this is how it's supposed to be done. But at the end, the most important thing is how to do it. And then sometimes in a career of a player, a lot of players need the guidance, but those are the players, especially in playmaking positions, that you have to push towards the geniality, towards this research of perfection. And once you have that, you have a great person, a great job in front of you, but because you're talking the same language. I had a Željko Bradović who played, who was my teammate and a roommate, and the guy that I looked up to. He was one of my idols in his working ethic, which is one of the things that a playmaker must be second to none, because it's if he wants to be a playmaker of the team, if he wants to be a lot of times a leader on the floor, he must be the number one in working ethic. So this is something that it can be taught. You have to found, but you have to always push and explain why this is needed, because those examples, actually those leading moments done by example are the ones that the team needs the most, and especially the playmaker needs the most in order to impose himself towards the whole group. So all that things are also coming from his understanding of the game, his research, or let's talk about my research of the game, my understanding of the game, how I want it to be, to understand what coach wants, to understand the game, to understand all parts of the game, even being a player. And once you're a coach, of course, you have to always have that little fear when players ask you on the floor, "Hey, coach, how we do it?" You have to be able to explain it, because, as I have to repeat again, what and why, it is very easy to explain, but how, it is something that is always a tricky one. So the thing that being a player helped a lot in this part of my coaching of a playmaker, or creating a good playmaker. So I had a couple of examples that coaches, when I was a player, came to me, and right now I am using that towards the players a lot of times when we have an important game. So once I remember we had a finals, and Sergio Scariolo was a fifth game in Barcelona, Real Madrid, and he came to me, and before a shoot around, he just, easily he would say, "Hey, Sasha, what do you think of this, that? Is this a good thing that we're trying to do?" Or, he was just trying to, I don't remember all the things, but he asked for my opinion. So I felt very, first of all, responsible, but I was very into what we are all doing. And that was my job, to transfer all that to all the players inside the locker room, with what I would like to talk about, one of the roles of the playmaker inside the locker room, because right now, being a coach, you're outside, so it's very completely different and very difficult. And he was very, very, very perceptive, and I was very. I proposed some of the, not new ideas, but we agreed on something. And the truth is that after the game, I came to Sergio. I said, "Congratulations, how you prepared the game. This was really, really awesome. We won the fifth game," and it was something that I would never remember, because he gave me the satisfaction to make me understand my role, my importance in that moment, and I kind of, my ego grew up, which is very important once you're on the floor. So this also verbal coaching is of a huge importance in a role of playmaker. And on the other side, I gave to my coach the acknowledge of accepting his philosophy, his thing, and we had a great relationship, and our relationship, which has to be with your coach, absolutely 100%, grew up even in that moment. So those were some of the things. One other thing that I would like to emphasize was Mike D'Antoni's coaching and his role in him being a absolutely dominant point guard in 80s in Europe. I was lucky to have him as a coach also. So he was the one who was giving a huge confidence, which is one of the words that the player is in a constant search, and especially a point guard to me, that I look to transfer that on the floor. And this is something that at the beginning it is given to the playmaker, but you have to earn it. So it cannot be just for granted. It's not something that is given because you're playing in a role of point guard. No, you have to earn it every day on the floor. Before the season, the whole season, I used to give an empty sheet of the paper to all the players, and to ask them what do they think, what are their roles, what are their ambitions, personal ambitions of this season, motivation, what they want to be better, just to write a little bit about themselves. And not during the year, I used to take that papers and read 3 or 4 times with different players, but especially with the point guard, to understand what I have to make in coach, what I want from my point guard, where is the problem if we are losing the games and everything else. And it helps me a lot, because if a player, and I had a great point guard, Kevin Garris, who is a great point guard on the floor in Milano, he would just read 2 lines. He said, I want to be better, win every game. That made me understand in that moment that I had to work with him to open him up towards me, towards the situation, towards the club, towards our goals and everything else. So in this personal relationship, I hugely believe that it always can get better, and you always, if you make the point guard part of the thing that you want to do, he will grow up as a person and as a player also, and he will be a great point guard. One of the biggest issues or biggest goals of a point guard, or something that we must coach and learn and teach the players how to teach the point guard how to achieve that role on the team, other than being always prepared, being cold, being instinctive, being the responsible, reading of the situations. This is something completely global problem of especially right now of basketball, but it's something that your playmaker must know in all the times how to do, is definitely the leadership. A lot of times, it's a huge percentage that the role of a player is a completely linked to being a leader on the floor. It's not always like that. You have different kind of leaders, silent leaders. You can find leaders in each part of your staff for a different thing, but that's a part of a team building thing. So it's completely different. But being a leader on the floor, the playmaker, not always the best player, but being the leader is something that it gives an add to the quality of the player itself, but to also to the team. And you have to search for that. You have to teach how to be the leader. You have to also teach being the leader in the certain situations. You have to emphasize the mistakes of players of a leader in that moment. So I will tell you a couple of things. I believe that in creating of a team, first question that I said was, what is who is my point guard? Who is the playmaker when a coach tries to take over the team? So you're starting from that point. I want this playmaker because I believe before this game he's the one that can really transfer my ideas to the floor. And who is the 5 guy? Okay. So once you're trying to talk to your guy, talk to your number 1 player or point guard, leader, you're searching for your team goals. So it is something that is very linked to, it's not always individual goal, how you develop your game and stuff. We'll talk about that maybe later. If you guys remember me about a player that I have right now in my team in Virtus Bologna, a young Italian player. But it's also about putting that leadership on the floor in order to achieve the goal. I'm the one who I was very lucky to be on the teams that were always, most of the times, playing for the titles. So playing for the titles or playing for the medal, it's not the same like playing. I always say, are we going to play basketball or we play to win? So are you, my playmaker, going to play to win, or you're just going to play? Are you going to develop your game until being the best you can be, or just you're going to develop your game? When we shoot and have a shooting practice, do we shoot to score or just shoot? So those are completely different things. And once you have that in that part of the playmaker into his character, that leadership part, then you know that you can create a championship team. Without a leader, and I prefer to have a leader in a point guard. I strongly believe that a point guard should be a leader of the team in basketball, especially like the what's his name in American football, the quarterback.
Quarterback, yeah.
Yeah. Also, so those are the second coaches. Though he is your right hand, he is your left hand, he is your eyes, he is your ears, he is your body, he is your legs. He should be the one that you address and transfer your ideas to all the others. And once you have the leadership in that position, that you're very, very close to being able to create a championship team, because you can create a winning team, but without, excuse me, that winning team, without a leader, trust me, will not be a championship team. You need a leader, and this is something that you can also work on. How? Excuse me. There are a lot of ways, a lot of great coaches, great persons. Basketball, we are lucky to have intelligent, smart persons in our surrounding, in our staff, assistant coaches, doctors. You have a lot of great people around in our sport, and we have to take advantage of it and be grateful to all of those who help us. But let's say I'm lucky to have to continue collaboration to coach Miloš Teodosić, and when I took over the national team 5-6 years ago, he was the very first one that I started to mold in order how to get our game right, because our game national team were not at the biggest level. So he was the one that I started to, and I tried to give my input into his game coaching. Not only game, I don't want to teach him how to play a pick and roll. I know you young coaches would like to hear how to play pick and roll and this and that and angles and see left, look right, pass down, up, and stuff like that. This is something that he adds to the game, and you have to leave that individual characteristics to be at the max. But the role of a point playmaker off the court or on the court, even during the practices, was something that I was focused on. So I try to put one thing that he maybe was lack of, or he was not aware of at the time. You always have young players on the team, or you always have players that are not that good. Maybe they don't have the great relationship, but you have some players that are not, I don't know, 12, 13 player. Usually coaches make a common mistake that you yell at the youngest player. No, in my philosophy, I never yell at a young player, never yell at a junior player. So, or the 12th or 13th, 14th player, if he makes a mistake, if you yell and scream at him, it's something that I don't like. But it also happens with the players. Right now, we're watching Last Dance of Michael Jordan. We understand how competitive he was and how he was sitting on other players' asses if they don't perform well in his mind. So a lot of times that things helps. But in some of the cases, it does not help, because once the coach yells at the player, his confidence from here goes a little bit down, right? Because, oh, coach yelled at me, I didn't do good, so I'm a little go down. You want that confidence to be up all the time. When the teammate yells and at the teammate, screams and yells and enter into some kind, that confidence go way down, because he has to go back to the locker room. Same with him, he has to say hello, how are you, has to be a friend of that leader of the player that just in this situation put an impact on a young or on a player that is not that good. So I try to change that. I try to make him understand how important his role of leadership, being a playmaker on the floor, being the most important guy, is towards the other players. So instead of yelling, use, like, oh, Joel Wooden would say, carrot is mightier than a stick. Don't yell that much, because if he yells, confidence goes down. If he says bravo, his confidence goes up. If I say bravo, player's confidence goes as much as this. But if the player tell bravo to his teammate, his confidence goes up and our game flourishes. So this is something that I focus a lot in my teaching playmakers, point guards, because most of the times they're the ones who take decisions for us on the floor. They're the ones who will transfer the ideas, the tactical stuff on the floor. They're the ones who must know, in my understanding of basketball, everything defensively and offensively. So in that moment, they have also that role to transfer ideas into other players' head in that way. So I was focusing on that personal thing more than a playing stuff. So you have to understand what is needed in a certain moments of one player's career, how to put him in the situation where his role will glorify the team. So that's also playmaking. That's also a role of a playmaker. I was a playmaker, point guard for Barcelona, and I came back from Olympic Games from 5-6 years, winning a lot of medals, titles, individuals, goals. Came into a team who played for the final goal, which is the championship. And I learned, I have to admit, I was not ready because I never heard it, because but I learned about menos is más, or less is more. In the moments that you're scoring 10, 12 in a row, substitution comes up, another guy comes in, and I was a little bit shocked. Why? I'm used to, be a point guard on the floor, run the team, I can do more, I can score more, I can play more minutes, I'm not tired, and it's always I. And you never think about we game. You also, when you're a player, you think about me game. And this was the coaching of Mr. Aito, who taught me in his way that menos is más, that less is more. So he made me understand how important my thing is in the moments, not always, but in the moments when it really should be there. So he would say, if we take you as our point guard and you're always on the floor and you're creating the game, you're doing everything and you play and then everything is good. In the moments when the playoffs comes, the higher quality team will come up and your game is not going to be that much, maybe not all the time. So I have to have the team that is ready to take over once you're stopped. And I said, okay, but I'm confident that I can do it all the time, even in the playoffs. That's my job. That's why you have me. That's why I'm playmaker. He said, yes, but I want to have menos is more. And trust me, you'll see the situations when your individual stuff is needed to perform. And you're going to give me that part of the playmaking that you're talking about right now. I said, okay. So we played in a finals of a Courage Cup against Estudiantes. We lost. We were losing by 16. We lost by 16 in Madrid. And we had to play the game in Barcelona. Point difference was the goal. So in the halftime, we were down by 2. We entered the locker room. We didn't know what to do. Estudiantes was really a great team. And he just Sasha, we need your leadership right now, and we need your points and your individual stuff right now in this game. And I was like, wow, this is it. So we went out. We had a great second half. We won by 1, by 17, whatever. In the last second, we won the Courage Cup. And this is where I understood the importance of coaching a playmaker or giving him a chance where to put his leadership, not all the time, but in the moments that really counts. And this was something that really helped me in my playing career till the end, but also in my coaching career, because it was something that was not so usual. So this is a detail that I always like to share. There was another thing that helped me to grow as a playmaker and make me understand the importance of it in a European Championship. When I was a player, 97, Željko Obradović was a coach, and we had a huge injury of Danilović in the group competition. So I took over kind of a little bit more individually. I was scoring more. I had a great championship. At the end, I was an MVP of the championship. But I didn't see the game like the other great playmakers or the coaches would see. So talking to Željko during the competition, we were trying to find a way. But the one of the advices that came to me from Moka Slanic, who was watching as a spectator. He came to the hotel. He said, do you let me? Can I talk to you? Can I tell you something? I said, yes, absolutely. And he said, little less for yourself, little more for the team. This is the only thing he told me. He used to coach me years ago, and this is the only thing he told me. And I understood what we needed in order to win at the end. So I took less shots, played more for the team, trying to read the game more, trying to understand who I have to make play better, because that was always a part of my playmaking job. What I forgot, because maybe in that time I was dominate but I needed all the players to win the championship, and that was something that was of a huge importance. So right now it helps me towards preparing the next 3 games. When I coach in this right now, instead of preparing just 1 game, I'm looking towards 3 games ahead. Sometimes if I can, of course. And when I address myself to the playmaker, I'm saying, listen, 3 games from now, we're playing the team that has I don't know, a great big man. Okay, I don't know. We're playing Milano, Tarzevski, Gudaitis. We're gonna have some problems. So Markovic, Teodosic. Let's think about how in this couple of games prior to that important game, we can make our bigs look really good. So let's start to call the plays that we can, make them score, make them dunk, make them get some easy ones, and you guys, less is more, if you know what I mean. So right now we have a relationship that we really understand each other. They know that I would not say anything against them personally, but in order to make the team play and my ideas are transferred on the floor through the playmaking of my playmaker, which is 2 players in this moment that I have. A lot of times, especially in the modern basketball right now, a lot of coaches like to have 2 ball handlers. Some of the coaches like to have 3. Like, I don't know, Coach Trinchieri from Partizan, he likes to have 3 ball handlers, all of them great in pick and roll situations. So it's very hard to defend and everything. But, most of the time you definitely have a 2. So one of the things that in my coaching ideas that I transfer from the national team that I needed to get to the top, to the finals, and right now in the clubs that I'm trying to put a second playmaker on the floor, or always 2 guys who can be the point guards on the floor. And in this moment, this past year, and even in the years that we had in our national team, that thing really helped. So let's say that having a great game in the finals of the Final Four. Hackett and they had in him second one, actually the first one, and always on the floor with Nando, that they're doing that playmaking stuff. Let's say the dominant team right now in EuroLeague is FS Pilsen, who has always two great playmakers on the floor, but who are definitely not. I don't know if you see this, not going against each other, but they're actually very with their different characteristics, helping each other to become a one huge player, like Larkin Micic, for example.
We had that lesson a couple of days ago. Assistant coach of FS, he talked with us about, especially about that topic, how they work together.
Okay, so
it was a great lesson.
I believe that it was, because what we can see, absolutely, that is something that we can always learn from. I'm very pissed because you didn't call me to attend that lesson. I could have learned something. You should have said.
I'm going to share the lesson with you, Coach. If Coach Jacobs agrees with that.
Of course, those are the things that are in our eyes all the time, and this is nothing that we are inventing the hot water. The hot water is invented a long time ago, so you just have to use it in a smart way. So right now, in this year's or my national team ideas, we're always to have two of those players like that, having one like Teodosic on the floor. Of course, it's always easier because his geniality, his leadership, he's offensively, of course, he's missing something on the defensive part of the game or the floor. So putting a player like Markovic, who is definitely a great match for him and gave us a lot of results historically, is something that is more or less close to that idea that right now you can on the floor have two of the players that together make one great playmaker or point guard position, and I'm taking advantage of it because I love to play like that. Back in my times, we won the EuroLeague Champions League in that time, but EuroLeague started. I had a player, his name was Dragutinovic, and he was a defensive specialist. He stopped the players like Riva, Villacampa, and Herreros at the time, and all the great scorers, and he put all his, or most of his effort, excuse me, on defensive part, and I had to be a little bit less defensively oriented, so my talent, leadership, and creation would come to the service a little bit easier because I had to spare less energy defensively. So this is something that is used in a modern basketball for a long time ago. Once you're happy to have a couple of players that match like that, then it's a perfect match, and it comes to a huge playmaking entity, let's say, of always having two of them on the floor. Again, a lot of what, why, and how is needed in coaching in those situations, but maybe sometimes you're lucky and this how, you leave it a little bit on the part, you let them show you how. So this is something when this word is that I like to see. I like to match with the talent, which is geniality. It helps you to become a better coach. Huge question coming from one of our best coaches that I was very lucky to be coached by, Professor Nikolic. When we talked a lot, I was the one who would come for an hour and a half before the practice, sit with the Professor Nikolic in the bar before the practice, and we talk basketball. And he would talk about all kind of stories. And I will remember always that he would say, Sale, who are the ones who make the others better? Are we the coaches one who make you better, or you, the players, are the ones who make us better? And him being such a great basketball mind, he would always say, you players are the one who make us better. And I I always, if I put a question towards you guys, I don't know how many of you would, all of you would have, you know, opinions, which is completely okay. One of the great opinions that I heard from Dino Raja was, until one certain point, coaches are making players better. Then it's vice versa, and the players who make the coach better. And this is something that is fair enough, 50-50. The one thing that right now we touched a little bit example of having Markovic and Teodosic in my team, but the strength of a team or a vision of a coach could go into a direction that is not always achieving the results, getting the titles, the medals, and everything else, but also seeing what will come in the next 2 or 3 years. So I like to say, I don't limit myself not to see the forest which is behind a tree. If I have a beautiful tree right now, I have to see that behind that tree is a huge forest. So I have to cherish that forest too and look up to enjoy the forest. So in one of my ideas of creating or coaching a point guard, one of the things that is very important is to have the examples not only by a coach, but also examples on the floor. I was lucky to be on the floor in the same period with Coach Obradovic. We were teammates. There was another great playmaker in the national team when I was a kid, 17, 18 years old, Zorkic, you guys. He was Olympic game medalist from '84 and stuff like that. So I had a huge look up to guys, not only be a coach and now a young player, okay, play. You have to start understanding the game, start understanding the mistakes, start growing, start getting bench time when you deserve, start getting playing time when you deserve in order to grow up. It all comes with a responsibility, with knowledge of the game, growing up, with a personality that you can develop, with a physical development, which is of a huge importance for the young players, because a lot of times they are dominant in a young teams, under 18, under 20, they win the medals, they win the championship, blah blah blah. Then they come to the because in their little swimming pool of young basketball, they're okay. They swim the best, they look the best. But once out of that swimming pool, you come to the ocean, and you have all kind of sharks in the ocean that already did whatever you did in your young thing. So you have to be able to transfer that talent or whatever it is on the floor through your adjustment, especially physical adjustment, which is not always the easy one, because the physical adjustment goes with the knowledge of basketball that always comes higher and higher. Higher is the level, higher is demanding to the player, point guard. Higher we go to the playoffs, I'm asking more and more things. Higher we go to from, I don't know, Euro Cup to Euro League, to national team, to the NBA, we are asking more and more stuff. So this all growth must go parallel. And a lot of times the limits of the young players, their surroundings, and especially the point guards, is coming from their head. So the goal of a coach is to enter into that head and becoming one of the people that young player or a point guard will go and ask the question, talk about basketball, and if something is not true, and being really comfortable of growing up together. So that's one thing that I really trust a lot. So being able to have players like Markovic and Teodosic, I was thinking about actually having Pajola. I was thinking about who to put in order for him to grow up, not only by giving him the time on the games, but also matching him up in the practice, because this is where the young player really grows, and this is where the playmaking is really up to a huge better solution, better shot, better assist, better call, read. I love to talk to the player during the practice in every situation, but not to impose my thing. I try to make him think, hey, what four players you have now on the floor? So what should you call? Why did you call this? Why didn't you this? What do you think? So he has to come to the answers. Once he's coming to the answers, my job of how is addressed in the right way. So Paiola's growth, let's say, of a young player, 20-year-old kid, was linked directly with having players like Markovic and Teodosic who passed already through that period of their career on the floor every day, and he had to compete against them all the time. So this is something that is very, very important. So one of my jobs as a coach towards leaving a better playmaker once I leave, when I leave, is going to be that we this year we worked indirectly and directly with a player like 20-year-old player Paiola, and for the future of this club or maybe Italian basketball, this is a good thing. So that example on the floor, me, young Djordjevic, having experienced Obradovic or Zorkic or Wilfan on the floor as a teammates, was something that made me grow up really, really huge. And I always like to, you need experienced players, but you also need young players. Without youngs, you don't have that winning or championship atmosphere that is needed at the end. This is what I strongly believe. Another example, which is not linked to the playmaking position, but was when I had a young Papagiannis in Panathinaikos, and he was 18-year-old kid dominating under 18, which is competition with all the respect. And then he comes to play senior basketball. Excuse me. He was not ready, obviously, so we had to develop him. You cannot develop him giving him a playing time just like that, because there is EuroLeague, there's goals, there is club obligations, so you have to win, but parallelly you have to develop players. How you do that? I put two of the players that are very different with their characteristics on his position. One is offensively oriented Radulica with all kind of offensive tricks, and I always put Papagiannis to defend Radulica in the practices. And the other one was defensive specialist Ognjen Kuzmic from our national team. I always put Ognjen Kuzmic to defend Papagiannis, or trying to match that. I always would leave one-on-ones and match them like that. So we had this little growth by Papagiannis, who, like every young player, is very anxious. But at the end of the season, he was even starting the games for us in a Greek championship, and he went to the NBA in young early age. So I think these are some of the things that we coaches should use if we have a chance in order to develop young players, because we always say we don't have young players, we don't have young players. Young players, we do have them. We have to develop them, and they have to enter the gym. But we have to develop them, not only by coaching them, but also teaching them secrets of basketball. So in my situation, having a Paiola is much easier for me, because he's the point guard and everything else. Maybe that role of that we can talk about also, players development coach that all NBA teams have, and a lot of European teams now, is very, very important. And then you have a big man specialist and a guard specialist, which is really, really something that we all can take credit and take profit once we have that. But obviously, it's another thematic.
Okay, Coach, can
Sure.
I ask you something? Talk a little bit more about 3 point guards you just mentioned. So Teodosic, Markovic, and Paiola. I mean, they have a great size for a point guard position. Is it like random, or is it like with a purpose? I mean, what do you think? Is it like let's say different when you used to play basketball, where we had a lot of, let's say, undersized point guards, and now you also mentioned De Colo also, who is extremely big for the point guard position. How do you think?
Hackett,
yeah,
Kalates,
definitely, yeah,
and all
yeah,
that.
and so many other guys, great
That's,
point guards.
that's something that my idea coaching the national team was to raise our size and put that problem in front of the other teams. In in 2014, we had a World Cup in front of us in Spain, and I was watching the Radnički Kragujevac, the third team of Serbia back in the time, and they were Kalinic, Birčević, and Jovic on that team, exactly. But Jovic was not playing a regular point guard. The actual coach of Borac Čačak, Marinović, was playing the point guard, and Jovic was playing, let's say, 3 position, or that 2 position. I was watching him, and I said, this kid, he's the point guard. He's the one that, because his individual technique is great, his face to the basket is okay, he's controlling the ball greatly, he's on the ball really good. He has to get his shot better, but he's the one that I will promote into a playmaking position. This is what I did. This is why one of the reasons that we had a good several years, because we imposed our size of Micic is also a big size point guard. He grew into this last couple of years, but also Jovic, Markovic, who is close to 2 meters. That's something that gave us a little bit of advantage against the teams. Of course, the speed was an issue, but then the speed, I had a player like to choose like Nemanja Nedović, who was extremely explosive and quick player. So I said, I will not going to limit his speed in order to make him read and select better. I want all the others to achieve his speed. So I didn't want to put speed of Nedović to the other team. I wanted to adapt the other team to his speed. So this is something that is controversial, because we had a big team that had to play fast, play quick in order to sit on the floor. So right now I'm trying to teach everybody, and I like to say, who is the quickest, who must be the fastest thing. I asked it thing, but the fastest one on the floor once the basketball game is played. Who is the fastest one? I'm asking you.
Mentally or physically?
Who is the fastest one on the floor? I didn't say person. So it had to be the ball.
Yeah.
So this was something that right now our team, even though we're huge, we're big, we're playing with a lot of assists, with a lot of ball movement, with something that because the ball makes you go faster. The ball is one that you must change. If you always pump it up and it's always in then the game stops. This, we can keep it for the last minutes, last seconds. Of course, the players are the ones who are going to decide. But in order to achieve that quickness from the bigs and big guards, you have to make them use the speed, or force them in order to get that speed that is needed to play on that level. So right now we have some examples of bigger point guards like Kalates, like Haket, Teodosic, Markovic, Jovic, but also we're in a search of let's call it old school point guards. Campazzo, who is dominating the EuroLeague and even the World Cup this year because of his quickness, his ability, his talent, and how he developed. So basketball is always, it has its period, it goes towards something. So this bigger point guard was some kind of a fashion, like it is smaller bigs. Let's say small ball was implemented in the last 10 years in Europe because we were lack of big men. All the big men left for NBA, and not all the teams had a big man. So EuroLeague is full of maybe first 8 teams of big men. All the others are not that big. But I believe that the winning the championship team has to be built also around big size big man, and having the point guard like Bobby Dixon or Ali, let's say, who had a great run in EuroLeague, is something that you always appreciate, and you would know how to use it. So this playmaking depends who you can come up with. You have to adapt. Last year I took over the team with Tony Taylor, who was a let's say old school, uh, great kid, a great point guard, less size, and you have to adapt the game in that direction, but not only offensively, but even defensively. But this is we're going into um, other direction that we can
Yeah.
talk years.
Okay. Could we just make one step back and talk about communication between you as a head coach and your starting point guard or point guard who is on the court, especially during the game, but also during the practices, in terms of, let's say, freedom you give to your point guard on the court. So we are going to talk about, let's say, offensive calls. Are going to choose which kind of offense you're going to run, or also your point guard has that freedom in a certain moments of the game?
The game of basketball is extremely quick, and if you think that you can call all the calls, you're making a mistake. You have to come up to the same level of understanding and same level of thinking with your players, especially with your point guard or point guards who are calling the calls. You have 5 timeouts that you have a chance to tell them what to play. You have a lot of situations when they're free throw situation or the ball on the side and stuff like that. But I believe that coaching is also giving the players some kind of creative responsibility equals to the freedom that you like to say, but it's a creative responsibility that they must have in order to give them also the responsibility, because once you call the call, he might not agree or say, okay, I'll just play it, but he has to play it convinced. So it all that kind of a coaching must come to a certain level of understanding during the time. So for everything, you need time. I like to show to my players and to my point guard confidence. I like to make him feel confident. That's a big part of a coaching, and that's a big part of even personal relationship that you have to develop during the year. It's not easy. It's not always or it's not every day the same, but it's the beauty or a tough part of coaching, trying to come to the same level. So communication skills are really important. Eloquence is really important. Being professional, direct is very important. And they must feel that you're doing or acting in a good of a team. And also the coming to this freedom or creative responsibility is something that you want to coach to teach the players or the player, because a lot of time the biggest mistakes are pointing fingers in one or the other direction. But we always have to remember that whenever, and I like to teach the players, whenever you point the finger, yes, but this or but you always have to know that the other 3 fingers are turned towards yourself. So you have to start from yourself. So that part probably comes from my father and teaching that he gave to me, that I always look into what I could do better and then what someone else or what is there. And in this freedom that I like to give, especially in one-on-one talks, since we are talking about one-on-one, most of the time the common mistakes that we do is we talk about the 3rd person or 4th person. Yes, but him. Yes, but that. Yes, but this. I said, stop. It's me and you talking. Me and you. If you want us to talk with the other person or with the other player, we'll call him. Then let's talk triangle. But if me and you, it's up to me and you. The others will leave them on the side.
Great, thank you, Coach. Do we have some time for a couple of questions also?
Sure.
Definitely, super. Okay, Coach Mladen Manojlovic is asking how you adapt your game if you have a point guard who doesn't have scoring abilities from outside. I think he has Jovic probably on his mind.
First of all, I don't know if you all followed, but I'm the one who would just tell him, shoot, you got to shoot. So they have to shoot. They come to the practice every day and to the game, and then you have to shoot. You have to go for the shot. It is very tough to play basketball without a without a shot. It's very in each position. If you don't have a shot, you're a help for a defense, and that's something that is why are the shooters so precious, especially in the point guard position. One of the secrets of let's say in a national team level medals are having the players who can really shoot the ball or shoot the three ball. Once if you don't have him, you don't adapt, then you will try to run some of the plays where he's not that involved into pick and roll situation. There's a lot of pick and roll situations, but you have to find a way once you have that player on the floor not to involve him in a pick and roll, because playing pick and roll without a shot is a very, very tough situation, because all the defenses would shrink, would stay inside, and it would be really tough to find a solution. You have to find the other way. You have to hide him sometimes in the corners. You have to put him sometimes under the basket. Some of the times you have to make him cut, go to the basket. You have to use all kind of offenses. I don't know exactly what he's thinking of, but don't overuse his pick and roll situation. But if he's talking about Jovic, I don't believe he's talking about Jovic, because what Jovic is great in, and even Markovic, is in assisting. So they would use that, let's say, passivity of defense to find really a good assist.
Great. Thank you so much, Coach. Okay, there is Coach Thomas Ress who would like to say something to you, Coach.
Hi, Coach.
Hey.
I just wanted to thank you, first of all, for convincing Phil Melillo, making me play when I was the rookie back in Scavolini Pesaro.
Thomas on.
Thank you.
I believe in youngs. You know me.
Yeah, exactly that, because you made the example of Paiola, and I remember how I was, and you helping me develop my game, develop my mentality, and thanks to you, I made a big career. So thank you. And how do you behave if you have a selfish player?
Well, that's a. If you guys have time, go and check Gregg Popovich's speech in Berlin. I believe it was 2015, in front of the coaches, where he would address one part of his speech. It was not they started, and everybody was there waiting for him to talk about basketball, details and pick and roll and defense and this and offense, rebounds and positioning, spacing, timing, blah blah blah. But he actually talked about constructing a team, building a team, and he was addressing one part of his speech towards selfish player, and he would say he was really drastic about it, and he said, coaches, once you have a selfish player, send him away, because he will make you get fired. And I was like, wow, but you must work. And I was not there. I saw it. So he said, selfish player, just send him away, because he will make you fire. So the thing, why I love basketball, what is my, let's say, philosophy of basketball. I took over the team last year. We were averaging 12 assists per game. We were the last one in Italian league, Virtus Bologna. And this was a definite example to me. It is a sign that the team was not ready to play together, or the team in generally had different individual ambitions. What I want to say, because the team was constructed. It was a really good team. We won the Champions League. At the end, we had a great atmosphere. I'm very happy to have met all the guys and worked with them, and then they gave me a lot, and I believe I gave them also. But that little part gave me the sign that in their heads, individually, it was something else than togetherness, than unity, than a common goal, commitment towards the championship. In fact, we didn't achieve the playoffs. We had this lamp of greatness of playing a really good Final Four of BCL. And my work was to make them understand what assist means. So from 12, we picked up and we came up. My idea was to because what is the assist? How I look at the assist. When I select the players, I select the players who like to pass the ball. Why? Because it is a sign to me that a player who likes to pass the ball is willing to give to the other one the titles in tomorrow's papers, to giving them the protagonismo, to being the main guy. So I like to, okay, less is more. I will let you this, and I will pass the ball all the time to you. The thing is, I don't know, this year we had against Treviso, Frank Gaze. He shoot 2, he scored, Teodosic would pass and call all the plays for him. So we went 10 times for him. My generation, we used to play the same thing. If one is in the game, we all sit and watch and we make him go for it. And this is the old school. But that assisting is something that in a selection of the players, it is one of the biggest jobs of a coach, is something that leads me towards understanding who am I coaching. And if I explain that, then I'm taking out a little bit of selfishness from that player. Having a selfish player, that mark on the shoulder is very tough to take off if it's really like that. And selfish goes between egoistic, between me in front of we. And let me tell you, one player cannot make the team, but one player can destroy the team.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Okay, Coach George Varagic is asking, how do you improve yourself as a coach? I mean, do you attend seminars, watching games, and how many times you are looking for this kind of things, webinars or something similar? So basically, how do you improve yourself as a coach?
Absolutely like himself, listening to the better ones, learning, watching games, searching into deepest of the problems, talking to the managers, general managers, people from basketball, watching, I don't know, scouting secrets, everything. I'm in a constant search of understanding the full responsibility and all the positions in a basketball organization. I want to know how the president thinks, how CEO thinks, how the board members think, how the sponsors think. I want to know them. I want to propose myself, and I want to learn from them to understand what they need in order for me to present that club in a better way. But also yesterday I was, I don't know, listening to Coach Messina and Coach Stefano Pioli from AC Milan. They were talking about managing the teams in situations like this, like pandemia. I was listening to, I don't know, Maurizio Gherardinis. I believe he, with the Turkish colleagues, had a great couple of video conferences where he was talking about his way of scouting, of selecting players, staff members, and everything else. Not only coaches, but also coaches attending the clinics, attending here in Italy, in Serbia, watching on video, watching games, constantly talking about basketball. But the thing that helped me a lot was being able to create my own stuff of the people that I've choose. And the first condition, maybe the last condition to them was, you guys, I believe you know more basketball than me. This is something that I like to create. I liked to create in national team, I said. And if we finish the practice and the day, and you guys tell me, analyzing the day in the meeting after the dinner, and you tell me, oh, chief, everything went well, oh, great practice and everything else, I don't need you. I don't need anyone to tell me what went well in the practice. I need the people around me to tell me what is wrong, what was bad, game, practice. This is what I like to push my assistant coaches, even the video analyzers, the scoutings, the coaches. I like to make them tell what they feel. I like to make them comfortable, because I believe a lot of good ideas and growing up is ourselves sharing, especially in ability to accept that in a right way. My biggest enemy is my ego. I like to say overinflated ego, but it's not like mine, because I had a past as a player and I have a present as a coach. I'm a father, I'm a person, I'm a man, and we are dealing with the egos all the time. And this is something that a lot of times you have to put on the part, which is very difficult to accept the new things. The most difficult thing for a man is a change, and that change can only come if you hear different things from different peoples, not do all the things that you already do. So that's how I like to improve myself and learn out of my mistakes. And a lot of times when I do these clinics with the managers, with the students, with the coaches, in the business world, I like to talk about mistakes that I do in coaching, in my acting, and this is something that helped me. I write them down and analyze and try not to repeat them.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Ozan Havuzlu has a, I would say, technical question. What are the defensive qualities you are looking from the playmaker?
Okay. Defensive qualities: strong on the ball, really good third slide laterally, because we are very good, especially point guards, in sliding 1 and 2, but the third slide is a key of protecting this drive. I have a rule that I call 3B rule, which is ball, body, basket, which I'll always want to have. Ball, when we start from the day one, 3B. So it's ball, body, basket, which is a lot of one-on-one. So until we start about tactical, collective defensive rules, I want to input my individual defensive rules, and that's what we start, and I start from. And we coach that a lot during the practices. Those drills the players hate, ex-players hate, but coach love. And and this is something that I like. I like to have my point guard with a great ability of avoiding the picks on the ball once in defense on a pick and roll. I like to have a playmaker who can not go into the picks, crash into the picks with his shoulder. So that technique can be improved all the time. My advice is to watch, since we're talking also about big playmakers that have problems of avoiding picks. One of the players who avoid those picks good is Miloš Teodosić, and one maybe of the best in lately is Niko Zizis. Not to talk about Diamantidis, that was both on the ball and off the ball unbelievable, and I had a chance to coach him. But Niko Zizis' technique of avoiding that pick and roll, sending towards the pick, like I like to say, is his game, his footwork is perfect. It took him out of the problems a lot of times. So all these things it can be improved during the season, and I like to emphasize that work. Not a lot of players like to improve that, but as I said before, change is the biggest challenge of a man and also of a player. So if you're not doing it good, you have to get it better, and this is something that I like to have from the players. Very important is a weak side positioning, especially if you're the low guy in the opposite corner. Or being a point guard, being the smallest guy on the floor, you have to understand the Sometimes the rotations that coming up after a situation on the one side, the ball skips to the other side, then the second pass out would be the most active pass, and our X out situations are really the must for our point guards, because being smaller guy, his position has to be a lot more higher than a, let's say, smiley position once he's defending that opposite corner guy. So those are little things that comes with understanding of the game, anticipation of the situation. Maybe the best in that is Miloš Teodosić. Nevertheless, he's not the best one-on-one defender, as we know, but in that anticipation of the game and understanding of the game, his position is close to perfect.
Yeah, I remember against Trieste this season, he stole 2 very important balls at the end of the game, playing defensively the best possible way. Yeah,
he understands. Also understands his limits, his limitations, and he understands the game. This is something that is all great offensive players were also great team defensive players. All of them.
Yeah.
There with no exception. All of them, team defensive player. And this terminology, I heard it for the first time working in the national team with my assistant coach Milan Minic, who has a huge experience working with Dusan Ivković, working in the national team with Željko Bradović, working Olympiakos, Panathinaikos, a lot of individual development players, Printezis, and all of the kids. He told me that me as being a coach, and we're talking about past, I was not a great in one-on-one player, which I of course did not agree, but I was great team defender. So this is something that I ask from the playmaker, to always have the understanding for the game, both sides of the floor. Right now, the most difficult thing is if they put the masks on our mouth to play basketball. Of course, it's a joke and a provocation, but this is the first weapon of a defense is talking, voice, loud, and coming from playmaker, the guy who has to make the play or make the play better. His understanding of the game can help me to help the team defense in this direction.
Thank you, coach. It was against Treviso, not against Trieste. Could you tell us your philosophy about timeouts? Talking about timeouts, what's your strategy? What's your idea? When to use them? How to use them? I mean, obviously, the basketball is a game where in 2 seconds can change everything. So, could you tell us a little bit about using timeouts? How do you like to use them?
It's a reading of the game, of course. Sometimes you ask timeouts in the first 5 minutes of the first quarter, all 2 of them, because you see that your team is not ready. Yell and scream, go crazy, make a scene, and then provoke them to react. Sometimes timeouts should be less is more. Use our terminology that we use in our practices. Less words is more to the players, and this is something that I like to share in the timeouts. I really do listen to a lot of NBA coaches, how they do the timeouts in sense of they have more of them, and sometimes it's very let's say it's very precise. We're going to do this, and that. Let's change this. But sometimes it's very general. So it depends on how the games go. The thing is always, of course, to keep at least one for the last seconds of the game. If you see that the game is on the line for 1 point or a tied game, so you have to have it at the end in order to help your team out a little bit. But my communication is also very important towards the players, who has to communicate to the others. So of course to my point guard, to my playmakers on the team during the when the ball is stopped, when it's on the line, when it's a side ball, when it's a foul, this and that. I use that moments also to to communicate something that I see on the floor. But I believe the players sometimes you feel that they need to clear up some things, or you have the role of a point guard, of your leader, or not rarely a point guard or a playmaker, or the guy who is in that moment hot would take a word and say something. I cherish that. I love that. I love when I see my players to propose. Teodosic is the one who can say a couple of times things, and I love that because I know he's in the game, and the players listen to him and they feel more secure. So it's something that it also works. So we players, a lot of coaches, a lot of time also need less is more.
Great, thank you, Coach. Coach Gabri is asking from USA Basketball.
I didn't see Coach Gabri. I didn't hear Coach Gabri.
In your opinion, what we should steal from the USA? You mentioned, for instance, the player development coaching. That is very important in your opinion.
Absolutely.
Except that, is there any other aspects of the coaching program that we supposed to steal or take from them?
Listen, all NBA teams lately, they have their development programs in the summer. They send one player with one player at his home in Spain, one coach and one player in Spain, one coach with one player in Serbia, one coach with two players in States, and all these players are linked to their developing programs that they have in the summer. We here in Europe, we have our summers. Once the last game stops, we have our 6 American players out, but we don't have development program. Right now, right today, here in Virtus, I have 7 players that are stayed in Milano, and we're practicing every day. Last year, we stopped. We didn't go into the playoffs. We practiced till the 30th of June. Then we have 2 weeks or 20 days of rest and practice again individually. And this is a place where where I believe the players get better. When player get better, 10% your game get better, a little bit more. So this is something that we must start doing a lot more here in Europe. Infrastructure problems, not always having the same coach that will continue the next year, and all those things that are linked to continuity of the program that one team here in Europe believes that is a good program is something that is playing against us. Let's say, I don't know, we finish, me and my staff, or we finish the contract this summer, and once the last game is over, we just go, thank you, last dinner, supper, or lunch, whatever it is, big hug, see you when we see you, and we just go and leave the club and the facilities empty. No, this is the time when you guys have to go back to and coach. This is the time when you develop. I was preparing myself to go to the camp of Boston Celtics coming from the military in 1990. I didn't have a team to practice in, so I called Boša Tanjević in Trieste, and he had all his team. I said, can I come and practice with you? He said, of course, you must come. So he took me over, and I practiced there for 10 days. I was preparing myself, playing against Darrell Middleton, Menegin, Piluti, Depol, all the other, Fuchka, and all the other players, summer basketball. But it was practices, and this team got better. And this should be a message to all the franchises, even here in Europe, to having a program of 3, 4, 5, even 5 years. If you trust, if this is a good thing. Of course, a lot of coaches who are working as a head coaches will tell you, coach, this is utopia, and I know, but yeah. I believe we are missing this part of programming, of developing, of getting better, even us ourselves, and this is linked to an individual development coach.
You mentioned Boša. Yeah, thank you. You mentioned Boša, another great fan of big size basketball, let's say.
Absolutely. He won the gold medal in 1999 European Championship, having put Andrea Meneghin as a point guard and Abio as a point guard, big bodies, and he created problems to all the others. Absolutely, yes.
Great, coach. Okay, there is Coach Alessio Marchini who would like to ask you something. Ale, please.
Hi, Coach.
Hello.
And first of all, I want to thank you for sharing your knowledge. And I have this question: if in a senior team I have a young player, okay, a young playmaker, okay, who is very able to score, to play pull up, but he struggles to play with the others because he doesn't see advantage or not always understand the tempo and the rhythm of the game. The question is, do I have work hard on these weaknesses or using him for his characteristic, in your opinion?
Well, that's a great question. But what team does he have around?
Yeah.
What teammates is he playing with? Who are you going to put together with him? Who are you matching up to play with him? So it's one thing is when you have individual characteristics of the player, you design that player for your team, but who he has to play with, what do you need from him? Example from less is more. We have to play team basketball. We are winning, but now we are tied. Now, Sasha, individually start scoring, assisting, and do all you do against Estudiantes that I was talking prior to this. So you must not lose his strengths. On the contrary, you must emphasize, but make him understand that one of the biggest qualities, not a job, but one of the biggest qualities of a point guard is make the others better. That was my task, my job. That was my obsession. When I was playing, my teammates must be better. And this is something that I like to cherish with Teodosic. He a lot of time makes the others better. Not only Teodosic, I have him in my clubs, but a lot of other great point guards make the others better. Tony Parker make the others better. Ricky Rubio make the others better. That's the biggest quality that the point guard can show to you. But I would not lose his great ability. If he's that good, can I sign him?
Sorry?
If he's this good in pull up and scoring, can I sign him?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
but
okay.
So making me under and making
you have good players.
Yeah, I make them good also.
Yeah. Maybe you can exchange some players, Ale.
No, let the market decide, please. So I'm just saying, the game is played in a certain way. We need individuality. Yes, of course. I would not take that out of you. But also, it's a team game. It's a we game. It's not a me game. So you have to find the balance. But never stop teaching the player. Never stop. If once you say, I'm done teaching him, he cannot learn anything from me, then you're not doing good your job. So you got to always teach him something new, provoke him, find him that little thing that he can play as you think he should play. Here in Italy, a lot of times we are making a mistake generally, that we are putting this little mark on the player's shoulder, and it's hard that they take out that mark from them, because this is what, hey, yes, but hey, let's work. Everybody can have its role, so we can use that. So you got to make it fit.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ale. Okay, coach. That's it. Thank you so much. We have no more questions. Thank you again. It was a huge honor for all of us having you, just listening your ideas, your experience, your coaching philosophy. It's a huge thing for all of us. So thank you again. Wish you all the best, to you, to your family, to your players, your staff, your club, and hope to see you soon.
Okay. Thank you, guys. All the best to everybody. Bye-bye.